This is Stag Stories, the brand new podcast from Mansfield Matters, where we're joined by former faces from Mansfield Town's past to sit down and discuss all about their careers and, of course, their time at Mansfield Town. Each week we'll have a different set of stories for you, and kicking things off for this brand new series, we're sitting down with former Stags defender Martin Riley, filmed at the Capo Lounge on Tuesday the 4th of June. Over the next few weeks we'll have plenty of different episodes for you. Not all of them unfortunately will be on video, some of them will just be on audio. There's a logistical reason for that. It's more to do with the amount of players we can get and of course when we can get them. We've all got busy lives. So sit back and enjoy the first episode of Stag Stories. This is Martin Riley, Part 1.
Well, it seems like a long time since we've been sat in the Capo Lounge in Mansfield. It's the close season, which means ultimately that me, Nathan, Cam and Simon, who's not here tonight, are bored once again. So what did we want to do? We wanted to meet up with some ex-players and find out some Stags stories. Yes, this is our brand new series for the Mansfield Matters podcast, Stags Stories, where we'll be talking to ex-players, ex-managers, ex-coaches, that sort of thing. All have got a history of Mansfield Town, and we'll be finding out all about their Stags stories and their history of Mansfield Town and what stories they want to tell and can recall from their time. Nathan, alongside myself and you tonight, we've got a 6'2" defender who didn't just want one bite of the Stags cherry, he wanted two. What do you remember about this person's times for the Stags?
Well, you remind me of his height there, so obviously I can't see him, so I now know not to mess with him anyway. But I knew, obviously back in the days, obviously starting off in the conference and then obviously coming back for the second go when we was back in the league, and it's one of those where sort of Mr. Reliable, one of the defenders that you want in the team, because you can count on them to first of all put in 110% each game, and second of all to have that rocking defence. And at those times in the season, especially the second time round anyway, when we came back into the league, we was never really going to be going for promotion, but what we needed to do is make sure we were strong defensively, and to make sure we made sure we sort of built the right foundations when I was back in the league. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
What in particular are you looking forward to finding out about? Because for me, it's always an interesting one when a player has a great season, then departs elsewhere, and then a season later is back signing for a second time.
Well, to me, when a player comes back, it means something stuck with them in that first period that they was with the club, which is only a positive thing. So hopefully there's plenty of stories to share there, and just to sort of find out what Mansfield Town means to Martin as a player. For the first time this series,
obviously we wanted to get all of us involved as ever. Simon can't be with us this week, unfortunately. He will be with us on future episodes as always, but when we do these series we sort of put Cam in a corner and sort of isolate him a little bit and sort of put him out of the back of the room. But we decided this time around that we're not going to do that. Cut right now to Cam. You like that? See what I did there?
It's terrible.
I know. This gets worse from here, Raz. I promise it gets worse from here. Cam over in the corner. We wanted to include you on this one. Obviously you're doing all the desks for us tonight and all the cameras, but we have stuck a camera on you if you don't break it. What do you remember about this man sat next to me?
Be nice.
He's in the corner, so he can't go anywhere.
I suppose it's a bit like this season, that heartache losing in the playoffs, and obviously being part of the team, first season back in the league, that away win at Chesterfield, and mid-table finish, but it was still the team that brought us the first season back in the league.
Be interested to see what he remembers about that, because there was that season which obviously ended in playoff heartache, and then we got promoted the year after, but you weren't part of that. Do you ever look back at that in your time and think, whilst you had a great time at Wrexham and won the FA Trophy in that season, do you ever think, I wish I might have seen I could stay and become a champion?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. But then I also look on the other side of it, and that season that I was away, I played at Wembley twice with Wrexham, and had a really good season with Wrexham as well. So it's strange because you can look at a lot of things in football and say, I wish I could have done that, I wish I should have done that, but at the end of the day, there's no point looking back and kind of regretting things. But yeah, part of me does obviously disappoint that I missed out on that promotion, but at the same time I did have a really good season, and there was a lot of plus points for me at Wrexham that year.
And obviously last season you spent playing just down the road at Alfreton. A little bit of a trek for you, which is why you've moved to Hereford this time for the next season. But being so close to Mansfield, did you sort of keep half an eye on things that were going on? Because there were a few Stags players in that dressing room at Alfreton as well.
Yeah, 100%. I always keep an eye on Stags, definitely. I mean, I've still got a lot of friends here. Obviously, Demps has just taken over as manager as well, which is obviously massive. Obviously now Jamie Maguire and unfortunately there's no current playing staff that I played with, but I've still got a lot of friends in the town. I've come up and seen a few of them today, so yeah, it's been nice.
When you saw that Dempster had been appointed as Stags manager, you were out of contract. Were you tempted to pick up the phone and say, third spell?
Not really. I gave him a text just to congratulate him. Obviously on his appointment and stuff, which is a great opportunity for him. But no, I don't think really me jumping up 2 leagues again at 32 years old. It's probably stuff of fairy tales, really.
You are though looking, as you say, you are at that age, so you are looking beyond the playing days. I know you're very keen to get into the coaching side of things as well. Were you half tempted for a player coach?
Not at the moment, no. No, I'm still playing at the moment. I'm concentrating on playing. I am half looking at possibly going down the coaching route. It's something that I've not fully made my mind up on yet, but yeah, it's just great to see Demps involved. Really, obviously he's done so well at the academy job. It's just a bit of a breath of fresh air, really, to see someone promoted from his achievements and not just getting someone in the job that's been there and done it and failed, probably failed at another club on the merry-go-round in the managerial circus. So yeah, no, I'm happy to see him, and I wish him all the best.
Let's go back to the very start of your footballing career. Where did it all begin for Martin Riley?
So we started at Wolves, my hometown team, 14, 15. I was a bit of a late developer, really, as far as the elite level goes. Yeah, I think it was 14, 15. Got scouted playing for my local district team, Cannock District. Yeah, got picked up for Wolves, scouted for Wolves, and then signed, for youth level. And then a year later, I was signing my YT forms at Wolves, and then 2 years in the youth team and signed a 3-year pro. Glenn Hoddle was my first manager. Gave me my first professional contract as an 18-year-old, as a 3-year contract as an 18-year-old in your hometown team. It was like, what dreams are made of. So yeah, looking back now, I spent 3 years, in the background really at Wolves. Never really progressed into the first team. Looking back now, a little bit of a disappointment, but obviously as a young kid learning the trade, it's quite usual. You don't break through into the first team, and you have to go and drop down and ply your trade at the lower levels, which is what I did.
You ended up at Kidderminster and became a firm fans' favourite, and then moved on to Cheltenham. Why is it that everywhere that you've been, whenever you've left, people have said, I'm disappointed to see him leave, and you've always become an established fans' favourite?
I'm sure there's a few people that have been glad to see me leave as well, but I don't know. I just think it's the way that football is at the moment. I mean, you look down at the lower levels, it's all 1-year contracts. I mean, since I left Wolves, I think I've signed, as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, I think I've signed 1 2-year contract. Since I've left, it's not only a merry-go-round for managers, it's a merry-go-round for players as well. and it's not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. But clubs are offering out 1 year deals, which I'm not knocking them for. But managers are changing teams every season, every 18 months. The lifespan for a manager now is, I think it's about 8 or 9 months. It's ridiculous. So
it just shows they've done it. You finish 4th, you won, and you still get sacked.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. So it's a strange game, and although there's been times at teams where I would have wished I would have stayed. There was also times in my career where I did choose to leave as well. So to go and bet on myself and play higher up and stuff. So it's a strange one. It is a very, very strange industry to be involved in, and although there's a lot of plus points to it, there's also a lot of negatives as well.
It's interesting how in a couple of months' time there's going to be a brand new podcast on the Mansfield Matters Network, which is all about looking at mental health and that side of the game. It's an interesting point that you raise about the 1 year deals. Do you find that there's perhaps a lack of stability for a young pro, whereas somebody can go in and get basically a job for life at a firm, whereas in football it's a 1 year deal? You might be in Newcastle one season and down in Exeter the next season, having to move your whole life about. Is that a bit of does that play on your mind when you're picking your deals and picking your moves?
Yeah, it'd be stupid to say that it doesn't. Yeah, of course. Whereas at the same time, you have got no job security. Maybe that pushes players to give a little bit more, to earn a new contract. I don't know. That's obviously up to individuals and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you compare it to other industries, and I don't think there's many out there that are offering 1 year contracts out to people and expecting them to like really put the effort in and stuff. But yeah,
let's go back to that summer. You just left Cheltenham. A few fans were disappointed to see you go, and then you end up at Mansfield. How does the move to Mansfield come about?
Mickey Moore, it was.
Mickey Moore knows the score.
Yeah, Mickey Moore knows the score. He was the one that brought me in. Obviously, Coxie was new to Mansfield. He just appointed Mickey as assistant because they knew each other from the Connie North. So yeah, it was Mickey. Mickey's a Brummie. I was living in Birmingham at the time, and I think he had a few connections at Cheltenham and stuff. So yeah, it was all. I believe that season, although Coxie was obviously the main man, he was the gaffer at the time. Mickey had a fair amount of input with some of the signings and stuff, and I think it's probably fair to say that I was one of Mickey's signings. Yeah.
Do you find that interesting, Nate, listening to that? Because I think from a fan's perspective, you automatically assume a manager comes in and it's the manager who has the targets, and it's not tasked to the assistant. Because we're in almost a similar boat, aren't we now, in terms of Dempster coming in and having a lack of experience in the Football League. Coxie came in, didn't really have experience at that level, and Dempster's got that man underneath him in Lee Glover who's got that experience. Coxie had that with Mickey Moore. Is that a bit of an eye-opener for you? Don't laugh at the phrase. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know, in a way, because sometimes, when we reflect back on the season we've just had, sometimes you don't know who necessarily makes the decisions. So we've had situations when we've talked about transfer windows, for example, and actually, the manager ultimately takes the blame for people, players that come in, especially if they don't work. Whereas sometimes it's not that black and white in football, is it? You've got footballing directors, you've got chairmen who like to be involved. I don't think ours does, but we know other clubs that they do call the shots. Assistant managers have input. You've probably got the data analysts, scouts. So many different parties have an input in who players comes in, and it's, like I say, it's just not black and white. As in, it's not always just the manager. So it's interesting, and sometimes you think back to our past, and some of them are, the best signings we've had. You sort of wonder where they actually came from. So it's nice to sort of sort of learn further down the line when we speak to players like Martin, like, you know, who sort of does deserve that credit.
Let's cut to Cam again. What do you make of that? Because I think it's the same thing, isn't it, where Paul Cox comes in, he's appointed as manager, you look at him assembling a squad and you don't necessarily think that it's going to be his number 2 that's looking for the targets, do you?
I suppose when he initially came in, everyone was sceptical of the fact that it came from so low down. Obviously, it was at Eastwood before it came to us, quite a low level, not really, obviously doing well for their level, but not pulling up any trees as in further up the league. So Coxie might not have had the links to know people. Obviously, former county player, so he might have known a couple of people, but actually bringing players in, he might not have known like agents to talk to go to for this, that and the other. And obviously having the backroom support was fantastic, and fair enough we didn't get it done in his first season. We very nearly did, but the second season we did, and even the third season helping us build a team that kept us in the league. It's all about the support, and like, you do get managers that will just come in and be like, well, I want to pick the team, but sometimes you will get managers that will come in and just be told, no, you're doing this, you're doing that. And you've seen the amount of times somewhere like Oldham, for example, this season when Paul Scholes left, it all came out about him not being in control. It was the owner in charge of this, that and the other. Have you ever come across that in any club at all?
Yeah, most of it. It's obviously the football clubs are completely different from what you see on the outside to what you see on the inside. There's always so much going on that you don't see from the outside, good and bad. So yeah, I mean, stuff like this happens all the time. Yeah, it's just the way it is.
I think it's fair to say during your career on the pitch, when press officers are looking for people to promote kits and things like that, you were always one of the names that were pulled out of the hat. You, Paul Black, Ryan Tappazoli, every single season it seems. We'll come on to those later on. But there was a time where the boat race was messed up a little bit. Pre-season friendly, away at Ilkeston, you, Richie Sutton and John Thompson. What do you remember about that?
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
Yeah, that was a bad day, wasn't it? Yeah, I think Cox ended up walking us off the pitch again, didn't he?
Yeah.
I've never had an experience like that in my life. 3 players sent to hospital in one pre-season match was just crazy. I think Sutty was the first one.
Yeah, I think it was Suts, then you, and then
John had the worst one out of the lot, didn't he? Bless him.
And it's not just, I think injuries are going to happen wherever, and maybe that amount of injuries it's rare, but it could be. But the fact it was the same player who stayed on the pitch even after the first one, because the first one was, if that was a league match, that would have been a red card for the one on Suts.
Yeah. He was out to, it was rickets, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was. He was out to hurt people for whatever reason. He had one on him, and he was. I've not seen many, not played against many footballers in my whole career really that I can say, he was out to hurt people that day. But he was definitely out to really hurt people, and he did. Mine and Suts' injury, you take on the chin to a certain extent, but obviously what happened to John was disgusting, and ultimately I think he'd probably admit that as well, that it probably finished his career.
Yeah, certainly would have had a massive impact on his approach to going up and heading a ball, especially near a touchline. I always remember commentating on that game, and I was fortunate enough to be sat up in the corner, and there was a pylon which blocked my view of the impact. But so I think if I'd have seen the impact, John's one, and after the game, and I remember walking down interviewing Mickey because Coxie wouldn't come out. He was so furious he wouldn't come out. Mickey came out and did a bit, and then I walked back towards the car, and there was still the pool of blood on the side, and I'm just thinking, this is football, that's just ridiculous. And then to
pre-season friendly,
and then to see the photos obviously on Twitter and things like that after, I think you ended up with 5 stitches?
Yeah, I think it was 5, something like that. Straight down the front of my forehead. Yeah, it was probably the worst one I've had on my face. I've had a few nasty ones in other areas. I had a nasty one. I think I had about 7 in my shin, a couple of years ago at Halifax. But yeah, that was the worst one I've had on my face. Yeah.
Are we going to have to put danger signs when you walk out? Are you that injury prone?
Well,
you can't sue us, by the way.
I'm a centre half, aren't I? So it partly comes with the territory. You know, you're expected to get bumps and bruises and stuff like that. Yeah, I've had that many scars on my face now. To be fair, my nose is bent about 3 different places. I think Suts used to call it the sweet potato. But yeah, I was definitely better looking before I started football. Anyway.
And of course, as horrible as those sort of injuries are in a pre-season game, in a way, did that sort of unite the team? Because I think there was a lot of, because of what happened, everyone sort of seemed to pull together and got off to a better start than what people perhaps anticipated.
Quite possibly. I mean, that was just the strangest game. I've never been involved with that in my life. And Coxie did the right thing, I think, in pulling everyone off, because other people probably would have got hurt as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an interesting one with that, because I always think back to Legends Live, which was an event we held last year at the Sandy Pate Bar, where we had Adam Murray and Paul Cox back together. They were telling a few stories, and they always seem to be stories of a punch-up and a brawl. Any in the Martin Riley storybook?
Yeah. Obviously, there was a few in the dressing room. I do remember one with the Chesterfield lads in the changing rooms, but in the tunnel. After one of the games at Field Mill, I think it was a cup game actually. But yeah, there was one at our first year in Skegness, and I think it was pre-season, and we'd gone to Skegness for a little team bonding session. I think we might have played a game.
I think we had Boston on the Saturday, I think.
Yeah, that could have been the one, yeah. And we've ended up, obviously, in Skeggy, half cut, too many pints, and ended up getting in a scuffle with some lads outside a nightclub. And
who's involved?
I think it was me, Suts, John Thompson. I can't remember how it started, but Suts will tell the story, and
you've got to get Suts on one of these.
I ended up trying to get involved into a bit of a scuffle and break it all up. And Suts tells the story of someone coming out of the shadows and throwing a ghost punch, smashing me right in my chin. So I've gone into like a bit of a crowded group to break it up and split it all up, and someone's just come out and just absolutely cracked me. Rocked my jaw. I think the physio was like sorting me out for like a few days afterwards, trying to straighten my jaw back up. All my jaw swelled up and everything. And Suts was probably at the back, like throwing little shouts out. Nowhere to be seen when it really hit the fan. Sums him up though, to be there.
I always remember about that. When I first started getting into commentary and broadcasting, somebody said, if you ever get invited on a night out with footballers, always say no. And I thought, well, that never happened to me anyway. I'm at the traffic lights driving home from the Boston game, and who pulls up next to us? Coxie. Winds the window down and says, hey, where are you two going? This is me and my dad. He goes, where are you two going? We're going home, Coxie. He goes, no, get yourself, you're coming to Skeg with us, come out on the night out. No, we can't. And he was trying for ages. Red lights had changed to green. People's behind us pipping. He's out at window going, I'm talking to these two. Brilliant. I just thought, I'd love to do it.
Coxie was in. I got back to the hotel, and obviously we just had a big fight and that. And Coxie's, I can remember him sitting there going, "You right, Rolls? Yeah. You want to go back out and go and get him? Should we go back out and find him?" I was thinking, that's the manager, actually.
You can just imagine him saying
I like that.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, he wasn't scared of a tail, to be fair, Coxie.
There was a press conference 2 days later as well, back on the Monday. Fat lip, black eye. He definitely got involved, didn't he? He definitely got involved in that somewhere.
I can't comment on that.
I think we'll take that as a solid yes, mate, shall we? Oh dear. Moving on from pre-season, the season starts. We go on a bit of a relatively good run, and you establish yourself in the side. When you're getting those, at what point in a season do you think this is going to be a good side that could go on to achieve something?
We talk about the first year.
First season. We'll look at the 2.5 seasons. We'll just look at the first season.
Yeah, the first season was a bit strange for me. It was probably, I didn't really establish myself until probably before Christmas time. It took me a while to buy into what Coxie was doing and what he wanted to do with the team and stuff. It was a lot different from my previous teams that I've been playing in before, and I'll be honest, it took me a while to adapt. So I think I started off the season fairly well, so we had some good results, and I came out of the team for a long time, and it took me quite a while to establish myself. And once I did get in the team, I think I played every game from then till the end of that season, which obviously we finished really strong, and going into the playoffs at the end of that year, I think we were probably favourites really with our form to go on and win them. Obviously it didn't pan out that way, but yeah, so it took me a while to establish myself that year, but when I did, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we built what Coxie did. He built. I know he obviously he gets a bit of stick for his style of football and stuff, but he always builds good team spirit around groups, and he establishes a way that he wants to play, and if you don't buy into it, you won't play. So he gets an 11 out onto the field every week that are buying into him and his ethos and his mentality, and I think that's why he was so successful.
Did you find that difficult to accept at the start?
I did a little bit, yes, because in my own head, I wanted to play a bit differently. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a struggle at the time. But once I did buy into it and buy into his way, like everyone, I think we all started to see the success that it brought.
What differed for you? You said his style differed from previous clubs. How was it? What was it that you found difficult?
Probably to simplify it quite a lot. It was I was used to playing a little bit more football, a little bit more football from the back. Just to put it in real simple terms, that was it. It took me a while to buy into that.
Once you got yourself established and we went on that run, we started breaking team records and things like that, and you were always a consistent in that defence, as you said. Who was your favourite to play alongside? Because your name was always on the team sheet, but your centre-back partner would tend to change every couple of games.
Yeah.
The big X, so you would sometimes play full-back as well.
Yeah, and Demps was there as well, wasn't he, in the first season? He come on loan. Was he on loan? Was he the first season?
Yeah, I think we had him on loan for a little bit, and then.
Yeah. It's a difficult question to be fair. Obviously, Tomo was there as well, but he was obviously struggling with his facial injury. It's a good question. We probably had our most success with me and X at the back that season. I thought we complemented each other quite well.
What did you make of him as a guy? I always remember doing work experience at the club, and everyone has this picture of Big X as this big unit who's got this really deep, gruff, like big bully sort of voice. I always remember he came into the office once and there was this really sort of light knock on the door. I expected it to be some sort of cleaner. Pops his head around the door, the dreadlocks are there, and I'm like, oh, it's Big X, right, X. And he goes, softest voice ever. Can I have a word with the accounts manager? And he was just so softly spoken. I was like, wow.
Yeah, probably sums him up. Yeah, gentle giant, really. Yeah. He's a nice kid. I haven't spoken to him for ages actually, but he was a Brummie lad as well. So, we had a bit of a bond there straight away, really.
And of course, that weapon of his was the long throw.
Yeah, and we worked it well that year, didn't we? Yeah, we got a lot of joy from that.
I think we averaged something like 18 long throws a game, and I think we ended up scoring like 1 in every 2, or having a chance 1 in every 2, which was just ridiculous. And I guess when footballers come into that and say, right, was that the game plan? Did Cox say, right, we've got this weapon, so that's what we're going to try and use and play for?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Cox was all about the pressure play. You know, he wanted to put pressure on the opposition at every opportunity, and long throws were part of that. You know, set pieces were a big part of our armoury. You know, we were always a big side, so naturally set pieces were always going to be a big weapon for us.
I think in that season, Nath, the best memory for me in that is not getting to the playoffs and breaking all these records. It was the one game where we sort of clicked and said, we can actually do this. See if you can remember it. Fleetwood at home. The ringing bells?
Not to me, no.
We're 1-0 down. I think it's Jamie Vardy that scores.
I think it is now, actually.
It gets to the 90th minute. You remember, Cam?
X's header.
Yeah. And the place just goes fucking wild. It's just insane.
It was a great header, to be fair to him, yeah.
So I was saying, it wasn't only the fact that it was an injury time equaliser, it was the fact that the team we was against, obviously Fleetwood had smashed us something like 5-0 in the FA Cup qualifier round earlier that season. And they obviously were breaking records. Vardy were free scoring, they were doing this, they were walking it with league, and it was just that, oh shit, we can do this. Why can't we do this all season?
As a squad, when you've scored that late win, obviously it's great for us as fans, that jubilation, it feels like a win. It must be the same in the dressing room, but when you're chasing the playoffs and you just got that result against the league leaders who are smashing people for fun, is that the moment where you go, fucking hell boys, this actually could be our bit?
Yeah, quite possibly, yeah, definitely. I mean, the way we were feeling at that point in time was we could beat anyone, and we did show against Fleetwood. You know, we more than matched them. We beat Wrexham that year 2-0 at our place. Obviously Wrexham ended up finishing on 98 points that year, and we beat them 2-0 at home. So like I said to you before, I think there was a massive feeling around our camp that year that we were going to go and do something in the playoffs. But like I've felt a few times, it doesn't. The playoffs don't always work out like that.
It's certainly a heartbreaking thing, which is still raw from this season for us. Let's talk about a bit more of a positive side. You were always a rock at the heart of the defence. At the other end, you tried to chip in, but managed once. And it won a game to do it as well, 6-3 against Alfreton.
Yeah, I think I scored one. It
wasn't it debatable as well whether it was yours or not? Was it
the Alfreton one?
Yeah.
No. Well, not debatable to me, no. No, I remember it clear as day. I chested it in, didn't I, from a long throw. I think Rossi Dyer might have flicked it on, and I ended up just like come at me quite quick, and I ended up chesting it into the corner. So no, it definitely wasn't debatable. But I did score against Rochdale in League 2 as well.
Yeah, when in the league.
When we beat them 3-0. But yeah, goals. I'll be honest, goal scoring was never really my forte.
We had some class games in there because literally 2 or 3 days before the 6-3 over Alfreton, 7-0 at home to Barrow. That must have been crazy time. That must have been weird for you as a defender to see that amount. That's got to be a first, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be involved in, to be honest. I obviously can't.
Bet kids out at one point against Barrow, didn't you?
Probably didn't have a lot to do, yeah. But that's the way we were rolling at the time. It was, we were going into every game every week thinking that we were going to turn teams over. I do remember that point before the betting rules come in as well. I used to bet on us every single game.
How much did you make?
I did all right. I used to stick a few £100 on us every game, because we were winning every week, weren't we? So,
it's a good job you're betting for us and not against us, isn't it? It's a different story.
There we go. Yeah, obviously, I
bet there was a few lads in that dressing room that bet against us.
I do remember winning quite a bit of money in that season, especially on that run where we put that run together, and like I say, we were going into games every week thinking we're going to win, we're going to steamroll these teams, and 9 times out of 10, the last half of the season we were doing that as well. So yeah, I thought I'd go down the bookies and make the most of it.
Were you the only one in the dressing room, or were there a few lads having a flutter?
I can't remember if anyone else was doing it. I'm not sure. I definitely did all right out of it though.
I mean, it's a great incentive, isn't it? If you think about it, obviously you can't do it these days, but But back then, you can just imagine it now, you know, one-on-one with Martin Riley, he's thinking, hey, if I've got 100 quid on this, I need to take him out. So,
well, yeah, I suppose it gave me more of a incentive to go and win the game as well, didn't it?
Do you know what? As well as the betting rules obviously have to be in place now, but when you're at that level, and if you're thinking, all right, sometimes it's fair to say there are players who don't give a toss about the club that they're playing for. It's all about their personal gain. If they're allowed to bet on a game and they've put money on you to win, then that can only stand in your favour. Like Nate says, if you're sort of in the last minute and your legs are gone a little bit and they're one-on-one and you need to keep a clean sheet, if that personal incentive is there in the back of your mind, that might help. As wrong as it is, as morally wrong as it is.
Possibly. I mean, like you say, mate, I don't know many footballers out there, to be honest, that would are playing for monetary purposes. I think most of the footballers out there are out there because they want to win, not just for the club and the managers and the teammates, but also personal pride as well, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there's definitely, I'm sure there's players out there that would do it for those reasons, yeah.
A couple more things to touch upon before we wrap up this episode. We're going to bring part 2 to you next week, because obviously we've got a player here who has now not one but 2 spells with the club, so we'll come to that in next week's episode. But last couple of points on your first spell with us. Alan Marriott became famous that year, and not for scoring that goal against Wrexham, for carrying off that ridiculous pink shirt. Where did that come from?
I have to speak to the kick man about that, mate. Yeah, it was a bit rascal, that, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. And obviously that game where he scores the goal.
Was he wearing the
pink shirt? Yeah.
Well, that'll go down. I'm sure that's on YouTube, won't it? In his pink top. That was a moment, that, wasn't it?
Did you ever think he had that in his locker? Did he try it in training, or was it literally just look of the draw?
Do you know what? I don't know.
Were you playing in that?
Yeah, I was playing. It was against Wrexham, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was literally just because it was. I think it was something like a Friday night. It was on the telly. I think it was really windy and wet, absolutely pissing it down. And you just think, if you get a ball that's hit right, it's going to happen at some point.
I remember the opposition keeper was also quite suspect during the whole game.
Yeah. Maybe he had a fiver on Wrexham to lose. Maybe that's why he stood a little bit over me.
Well, I played with Jocelyn maybe
the season
after, didn't I? Yeah. He was a great keeper, but yeah, he was erratic. I mean, he had some crazy moments, and that was obviously one of them.
Yeah.
Who was the craziest in the Stags dressing room the first time you were in the conference days? Who did you look at and think he's just wrong?
It's a good question, that is. Yeah, I'm not sure anyone's proper springing to mind. Was Gary Roberts in our first year?
Yep.
No, Gary Roberts. Was Gary Roberts the first year? No, it wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was sent off about 2 games in a row, I think.
Yeah, Gary Roberts. It'd have to be Gary Roberts then, yeah. It's just absolute wrong.
I always remember him, Gary Roberts, after we played, I want to say Ebbsfleet away, I think it was. Ebbsfleet away, and it's that decrooked main stand and the buses at the end, and I'm packing all my gear up and walking back to the car, and he's just there with a fag on after. You're not seeing Gaffer, have you? I'm not going to do his accent because I'm quite scared of him. You're not seeing Gaffer, have you? No, you're fine. He takes a massive drag and then just flicks it out.
Yeah. No, he sparked one up on the team bus as well before.
Has he?
Yeah, and Coxie was fuming, yeah. Yeah, that got him in a bit of trouble, I think. He was a crazy character, yeah.
Let's talk about the end of that first spell. We get into the playoffs. It's been an absolutely phenomenal run towards the back end of this season. We do relatively well at York, but we get that early goal. Comes from Dyer again. Big X's long throw, gets it. Then Matt Green gets sent off. Do you think we can still do it, or do you think that's us done? Because Matt Green that season, to be fair,
he was our talisman.
He was the talisman, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that was obviously a massive blow for us, wasn't it? I think I ended up going off after about 20 minutes in that game with a hamstring injury as well. So that was a bit of a blow for us, and obviously that hurt us massively going into the second round. But I remember after 20 minutes that game, I did my hamstring, pulled my hamstring, and I had to come off. Ended up coming round and sitting in the stand. So I got showered, sat in the stand with Greeny's brother, Jake, who was with Mansfield at the time. And
sort of playing with the Resis, wasn't he?
He was playing with the Resis, and we were sat in the stand watching the game. And as Greeny's been sent off, his younger brother Jake stood up, and he's like in frustration. He's thrown his coffee down at the steps, and I didn't see it at the time, but it's gone all over some fans, some of the York fans, and we've ended up having a big row in the stadium, in the stand. Greeny's been sent off, and it's got a little bit heated. I'm obviously fuming because I've just been injured in the semi-finals at York, and we're nearly fighting with these fans in the crowd, and obviously it's all kicked off. It's settled down a little bit, but some of the York fans must have said, pointed to me, that he's causing trouble up there. I was just sticking up for Jake. I didn't know that it's like splashed coffee over some fans, etc. So I was sticking up for Greeny's younger brother. And anyway, the stewards have come over and they've given it one of those ones like, listen, can you come and have a chat with me around the corner? So I've gone, yeah, all right then. So I've got round the corner, and the stewards tried to like usher me out the ground. So he's trying to usher me through this like doorway in the ground to get me out the ground, and I thought, no, I'm not going anywhere here. So I've put my hands up against this wall. I've got my hands and my feet up against this wall, and this steward's trying to like usher me out the ground. Before you know it, there's another steward coming over. He's trying to get me out as well. I'm going, no, I ain't going anywhere here. What are you doing? I'm staying here. Before you know it, there's about 3 or 4 stewards all wrestling me out of the ground. Well, Caroline's up in the director's
She
box.
was sat 2 rows behind where I was commentating from.
Yeah, and she's seeing all this kerfuffle going on, bless her, and she's come down and eventually they've kicked me out the ground, and I'm like fuming, and Caroline's come down and tried to help me out and sort it out and stuff. But yeah, that was another strange story from that day.
And they say it's the fans which cause the trouble. I don't buy any of that from now on.
Did you ever get back in the end then, or not?
I didn't get back in that day, no.
Was you never surprised to get an offer from York after that bit? Imagine signing for York and then going up to that stand and saying, "No, you can't come in, mate." Well, you're fine, mate. I've just signed.
That's true.
I don't think those fans would have been coming for an autograph anyway.
Absolutely not. Absolutely crazy. Then the game after, obviously playoff second leg, lost pretty much in the last minute of extra time. Suts gets sent off. What's the mood like? Do you know you're going at this point, or
no, not at all. No, we hadn't discussed contracts at all. It's very rare. I mean, it does happen, but most of the time the contracts are kind of sorted at the end of the season, especially when you're going for promotion and you don't know what league's going to be and stuff. So maybe a couple of players probably knew where they stood with contracts wise and that, but I'd say 90% of that squad didn't know where they were going to be next year. They were playing for contracts as well. So I didn't have a clue where I was going to be.
And that's where we're going to leave it for part 1, because that's the end of your first part of your time at the Stags. We'll jump forward a season and then go back to Mansfield being in the Football League and you returning to the One Call Stadium. But for those who are listening, for those who are watching, you're going to have to wait a whole week to find out those stories as we continue with our episode of Stag Stories. I've been Craig Priest, alongside me has been Nathan Edge behind the camera, and on cam, give it a wave, has been Cam Felton. Martin Riley's been our guest, and he'll be back with us next week for the second part of Stag Stories with Martin Riley from the Capo Lounge.
Coming up next week on Stag Stories.
They had JJ standing there hosing them down with cold water. So
Did they know what was waiting
they
for
knew
them outside?
they
the
knew what
dressing
was
room?
coming, yeah, because I was banging on the door saying, right, you get out here now, you little shits. You're having it. You eat our food one more time before you're told to. You're having it. So there's about 20 of them in there. I'm banging down the door, like, get out here, you little shits. You're having it. And then none of them are moving.
Who goes in and grabs them out?
They're all sitting there, absolutely shitting themselves. You've got the lads banging down the door, going, alright, get out here. Yeah, so I always remember one of the questions was, in what year, I say again, in what year did the Titanic sink? And I actually knew the answer to the question, and it was 1912.
I'm going to test Cameron for what he said.
But Ollie Palmer's jumped up and he's gone, whoa, 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 whoa. So this could be a trick question. He said, because it could have sank in one year, but hit the bottom in another. and me and the lads were just looking at each other like, where do you get this kid from?
If you've enjoyed the show, make sure you give it a like and make sure you hit that share button as well. You can catch up with all of our past stag stories by visiting our website www.mtfcmatters.co.uk and follow us on social media as well, Facebook and Twitter /MTFC Matters. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield matters. We'll see you at the same time next week for more stag stories.